Hi, Paul.
Hello, Headley. How are you?
I'm good. And welcome everyone to Wessex Ways, episode 11. Wow.
Yeah, who'd have thought that, right? 11. We are headlong into the double figure territory. This is
We
getting
are.
serious.
Episodes are going up and listeners are going down, and that's the way it should be.
Absolutely. It's a bathtub curve, right? Surely at some point we'll start going back up again, won't we?
Oh, we'll see. I don't. It's quality over quantity. Obviously, we put a lot of listener comments from YouTube towards the end of the video anyway, and the comments are still there and they're still pouring in, which is great. And
Yeah.
I think we had an interesting comment today, so I'll read that out as well, and we'll have a look at the profile of the person who did that. Right.
Super. So this is Wessex Ways podcast, everybody. Welcome. I'm Paul Whitewick, as you may already know. If not, hi.
Everybody knows Paul Whitewick. To a lesser extent, people don't know me. I'm Headley Thorne, and I'm basically someone who takes pictures of historic sites using drones from above. What have you been up to then this
All
week
sorts.
or two?
Whoa, stop the car, Headley. Do you know what we haven't done?
What haven't we done?
Intro music.
Okay. Well, let's get those banjos out. Are you ready? Here we go.
Go! Ah, marvellous.
Oh, we can't forget the intro music.
We can't forget the intro music.
can we?
It's just rude, isn't
No,
it?
no.
Yeah, so, news, first of all. Last week we had a technical issue. I wanted to mention a technical issue in that, do you know what? We're going to have another technical issue this week, Headley, which is going to be a disaster. Hold on, because I'm not screen sharing.
So that means anyone on YouTube so far would have just seen my face.
Yes.
My red face. Why is my face so red? Really large. So, but this really is why people need to listen on Spotify, because
that's very true.
We're not built. Well, you are, but I'm not built for YouTube. Aren't I?
So our technical issue has taught us a couple of lessons, because basically we were headlong into our podcast last week, and we didn't realise that when we screen share inside of Microsoft Teams, it stops my screen recording from recording. So all of a sudden, 20 minutes into the YouTube video of this podcast, our screen share stopped my visual from recording. So all of a sudden we had nothing but pictures to show the YouTube viewers. So they were watching a YouTube video, which is just pictures and pictures and pictures.
We've had a string of interesting technical faults over the last few podcasts, haven't we? We've been disappearing. I seem to remember one stage I was the only person on screen for a lengthy amount of time, and and it's good. I mean, we're so slick. We could pretend that we haven't just spent 20 minutes beforehand trying to establish a simple Teams call.
People say to me, right, all the time, like I'm talking like friends or families or whatever. Oh, Paul, you edit, therefore you know computers and technical stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't. My mum came over yesterday or the day before or whatever to apply for a visa to go on holiday in Canada, and I'm like, yeah, speak to Rebecca. And anything like that, anyone at work, because I've got a problem with my laptop, can you have a look at it? I'm like, yeah, I'll take it home and show Rebecca. I'm like, I'm the least technical person you can imagine. So yeah, even as you just said, setting up a Microsoft Teams meeting so we can host this podcast, for me, is hard work, Headley. I am rubbish at it.
I'm one stage below you. I'm at Fisher Price level. I'm the IT operations manager for a large airport.
I was about to say.
I was in the terminal once. I don't go in the terminal, but often. But I was in there just grabbing some lunch, and someone came up to me with a phone and they said, "Oh, excuse me," because of course I've got my here to help thing on. Do you know how to connect to the Wi-Fi? And I'm just looking at her. I don't know how to use an iPhone. I don't know what the Wi-Fi is. And then she looked at my badge and it said IT operations manager. She went, oh, thank goodness for that. And I just
got the right person.
Luckily, another passenger came along and said, oh, I've just done it. You do this. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, thank goodness for that. I can't. Yeah. Oh, well. But
our technical issue has kind of taught us that we probably are treating this more like a YouTube video, or I certainly am, than a podcast. So it's kind of reminded us that we actually need to talk to the podcast people rather than go, look at this map that you can't see, which is what I was doing, I think, last week too much. So it's been a valuable lesson. So we are going to try and treat it more like a podcast than a YouTube video.
Yeah. And it's exactly the same. I mean, I sanity checked our last episode in the car on the way to work, and it was a little bit too geared towards YouTube. So anyway,
that's okay.
Anyway,
we're getting there.
But that's fine for all of our Spotify users.
Yeah.
So there we go. Right.
Headley was giving you a nice thumbs up, everybody. Just for purposes of
get everyone to switch off 5 minutes in. That's great. So, regarding actual videos you've been making and stuff. So what's the latest? I saw a video you did, and it was about stone circles. And
that
ended
was
up
a bit
in
different.
Swindon, which is a bit bizarre for stone circles.
I mean, the video was titled Swindon because I thought that might sell it a bit more, because we did a video years ago on Swindon's Lost Tunnel, and that got like 250,000 views. So I thought I'd do a similar thing. I kind of knew this was going to fail because, as a YouTube video, it was going to fail because our hardcore viewers are lovers of old canals, old railways, old Roman roads. When I go a bit stone bothery, they don't like it. We had a really wonderful time once with David Nash, the guy who and his team discovered where the stones come from at Stonehenge. I've said this 1,000 times. But the big megaliths, he discovered where they were. And the video flopped. And I thought, it's such a good video in terms of him as a person, but it flopped. I don't know why, but my viewers don't like megaliths and stones and all kind of prehistory stuff like that. And I say prehistory, I mean pre-Roman, which is a bit of a shame because I kind of like delving into it. But nevertheless,
it might just be the algorithm. Because, I mean, at the moment, all social media algorithms are all over the place.
Yes, correct.
I mean, if you look at Twitter, Instagram, you're looking at what you're being served up. So even on Twitter, you've got 2 columns. I think you've got one which is basically your home screen, where you see everything.
Yeah.
But half of that's not from people that you follow.
Oh,
you've got a dedicated for you, and that's what it defaults to. It's the same. You've got a separate page for followers. It's the same on Instagram.
Yeah.
And this is why somebody with 20,000 followers can post something and it's only seen by 200-300 people.
Yeah.
And I think YouTube's going that way.
It does feel like, and you're not the first person to say that. I spoke to a couple of other YouTubers in the last 24 hours actually, and they said the same thing. They said, "Oh, so and so's down. I'm a bit down. Are you down? How are you feeling?" I said, "Well, only one of my recent videos is down, which is the stone one. And again, I kind of half expected it, but I don't know. The 2 prior to that are doing okay. There's one on 55,000 and one on 45 or thereabouts, and they're my big new ones.
So those numbers are insane. Sorry, I know
they're insane, but
for you, it's not. I know.
For me,
that's different universes.
Yeah, well, I class that as good for our little part of the world.
Yeah,
really good is over 100. Exceptional is over sort of 300. But that's it's YouTube. It just is what it is, isn't it? If you play the game and you really work at the thumb and the title, then you get it right by all amount of luck. Then it's
a shame. You think it should be that the cream rises to the top. It should be the videos that are genuinely the best made, that engage people the best, should rise to the top, not videos that are designed for financial gain for YouTube and Google.
Yeah, and that's it, 100%. And there's a million people that tell you how to do that.
Yeah, but because
you've got
just I better put a caveat. But I love YouTube. I think it's wonderful. Please don't take this video down.
No, YouTube are very geared to hard hitting, entertaining, quick. Paced, and that's why they want you to make shorts. I'll tell you about shorts in a minute. Remind me to talk about shorts because there's something fascinating. But no, back to stones. Yeah, stones. We love that video. I saw probably about a month ago an article shared by Tim Dorr, who we often mention, and it was a random article with a academic that had written a study on stone circles that he said were in a line, and I'm talking down from Dorchester up to. The Devil's Crotus, is it? Devil's Crotus? Not far from you, probably, Headley.
Yeah.
And this guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he said there was like a line, and he said actually, Stonehenge, Avebury aren't the centre of the universe. They are just part of a line. And I thought, this is fascinating. Let's dig a bit deeper and make a little video out of this. It's not my area of expertise, and I didn't want to make it sound like it's my area of expertise. I wanted it to make it sound like, this is fascinating. Let's go and have a look and see what we can find. So, we don't want to come across like we're historians talking about these things. We want to come across like we're fascinated, and we just want to share what we found out. Yeah. We're not trying to teach people that, there was a cultural boundary or there was a dividing line between, this, that and the other. But so the notion of the paper was early Neolithic and the Beaker people from Europe had a cultural divide, and that line was down the centre of England and travelled through Stonehenge, Avebury, and all these other stone circles from right down in Dorchester all up to Devil's Quarters. And I said to Rebecca, right, do you know what? I'm going to do something stupid. I do that a lot. I'm gonna record every stone circle that I can find. I used the Megalithic Portal. What a great website that is.
Yeah.
And their map, it's just genius. And all of a sudden I'm doing research, and like there's 6. I said, Rebecca, there's 6 stone circles in South Swindon. 6 or 5 maybe at least. And I just, this is really weird. And I put all these together. There's Tan Hill. There was one at the bottom of Tan Hill. And I tell you what, I don't know if you noticed, Headley, but there was a piece of drone footage in that video. Actually, there's 3 pieces of drone footage that I stole from someone. They shall remain nameless. One of which was when we made our first film together, the Mystery Islands. The first place we went to, you put the drone down in the valley. Do you remember?
And there's a stone circle.
And we said, that looks like a stone circle. Probably just a coincidence. That's a stone circle.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Langdean Bottom. So I used your drone footage from that video, put that in that video, and just did a bit of talking over it. And that's one of them. But I kind of, the conclusion we drew from it was basically, no, we couldn't find a line. The stone circles just appeared to be relatively close to where you found sarsen stones. I can't see there being a cultural divide between the Beaker people and the early Neolithic. I think it's too convoluted. I think people built stone circles for various different reasons. I don't know, but it was fun. It was a fun day, and we got to see loads of sites we'd never have gone and saw, in our previous life. And the video flopped. Kind of half expected, but it's all good.
I think I think it's a great quality video. I mean, everyone listen to this. Just afterwards, load his video up, put it on repeat, and let's get the numbers up. But no, it's I don't think it works like that. I think it's a good video. It's a very good video, and again, you've got your new style of editing, which is really good. But it does make you think that places. I mean, Swindon is a big sprawling mass of houses and industry, and those. You think about the areas like that, like Reading, nowadays like Oxford, and you wonder what historic sites have been swallowed up by their expansion. I mean, you think of historic sites, even even Stonehenge. I mean, nowadays to get to see Stonehenge, you go through the visitor centre, you queue up, you pay, whatever, and then it's fenced off. So back in the day, so to speak, my parents in the swinging 60s. They're just, Stonehenge wasn't well known. It was that pile of rocks on the way to, Devizes or wherever, Amesbury, sorry. And, they used to go up there and climb on them and all that sort of stuff. So there wasn't, what's happened is, I think, over decades, there's been more emphasis on these ancient areas, as there's been money to be made from these ancient areas. So they've become less accessible, however better preserved because of it, I guess. I'm certainly don't want to knock the overly preserved nature of some of these places, like you say, Stonehenge, and again talk about David Nash and his team who did the whole analysis. The only way that a university could do the analysis is because the guy in America that originally pinned the stones back together and took a core sent the core back to England. That's the only way. They wouldn't even let him take anything from one of the current stones. So they are, indeed, like hugely protected. And that's it's a good thing because like you say, back in the 60s, we need a motorway there called the M4.
So
Yeah,
who
just build it
cares
over
what's
it.
there? Boom, straight for the middle of one of the, I think it's called fir clumps, one of the stone circles, straight for the middle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think even in the sort of 70s and early 80s, we had that attitude of who cares? Let's just build a road or whatever. And even my local area where the ring road is, all amount of archaeology was destroyed without any consideration. But
Progress was different. It was defined differently back then, I think. There was it was before the microchip revolution, before the information age, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And progress was all about business and transport and energy.
Yeah.
And
Do you think? Here's a question for you, Ellie. Do you think the onset and popularity of Time Team has made a difference to people's perceptions of archaeology?
Yeah, because it's made it more accessible.
Yeah,
I mean,
one program, program.
And that can be illustrated. I went to do some work, something called the Newton Valence Project. A guy called Clifford who runs it. Great guy, really great guy. I think you're copied in on some of the emails. And I went to do some work for him, and everyone was talking like normal human beings until they saw something on the screen of my drone, something they were looking for, and then they all started talking historian, which I think is a language. They all started talking about univalate this, and then they started putting, I don't know. I'll explain it in my main topic a bit later, but I think archaeology and history have always been perceived as being the preserve of the people that are educated in those areas, and Time Team suddenly bridged the divide between, the great unwashed TV watching people like myself and the people out in the field actually doing the work, and then put it in a presentable format, stick Baldrick in charge, and you've got a winning formula. And I think that's helped. I really think that's helped.
I think you're right.
You look at places like the Earth Trust are now engaged in looking at the Roman villa there. I mean, no one would have bothered about that 20 years ago. It's like too much effort, no money at the end of it. But now it's actually something that people want to engage with.
I really do think that it's one single program, Time Team, has changed the face of popular archaeology, and therefore put it in the household's minds that actually it's important. And either they're digging up a villa or they're digging up a Saxon house or whatever they're doing, and all of a sudden it's got this massive tangible feel to it that crikey, that's only down the road for me this episode. Or it's digging up the field near Marlborough, Coutinho, where they found a Roman hoard of coins, and all this becomes like, this is really important. How did they get there? There's a road, there's two roads there, three. I love that, and I really think the whole notion is great.
The number of people now saying things like, I wish I'd done history at school, or no, let me rephrase that. I wish I'd enjoyed history at school. Because I also history lessons as boring. You had
me too.
Horrible textbooks filled with stuff that didn't seem to mean anything. But now everyone, I actively go to sites for the history. I meet up with historians and have coffees and stuff with them just to listen to them talk. Because that's what you're doing when you're watching Time Team. You're listening to people that are better informed on a very interesting subject that formed society today, telling you what they know in your kind of sort of in a style that most people can sort of mentally translate quite easily and digest. So
well, there's our praise to Time Team. For what it's worth.
Definitely. And it started up again as well.
Yeah, I know they're doing it on YouTube. Well, they have been doing it on YouTube, haven't they? And they've been doing a Patreon where lots of people can sign up and donate. I still don't know how they make it a profitable thing based on YouTube, knowing what I do as a one-man band. But there we go. It's good luck to them, because I think it has changed the face of the archaeological world as we know it, basically.
True.
So we did the Stone Circle. The Stone Circle video was what we call it as a short form. So it's me and Rebecca waffling, have a bit of fun, but we've got a couple of more big ones planned. So we did the one before that was Silchester or Calive Attribatum, and the one before that was Wiltshire's Lost Villages, and they were the ones I really want to do and love doing. big long form. I say long form, 20 minutes.
Yeah, but it's a different type of video, isn't it?
Yes,
It's not,
that's the point.
you've gone over it with editing wise with a fine tooth comb and made it looking really good. And I really want to do that Abingdon one with you. So about the big meander in the Thames at Abingdon.
Yeah.
About 1,000 years ago, there was a cut, wasn't there? Made from
the
Cullen.
Swift Ditch.
The Swift Ditch. And I had a look at it from above using the drone. And every time I sent the drone over it, I heard shotguns. So I brought the drone back, and I was just to check I wasn't going mad. I sent the drone back again, and sure enough, shotguns. So they are actually aiming for my drone. So,
well, we should send my drone instead of yours then, because I think mine's probably about 1/6 of the price. So if I lost mine, it's not. Well,
they wouldn't see or hear yours. Yours is
this is just a good point. Yeah,
I remember the conversation I was having with Rebecca about it. It's all about the size and right. Okay. So that's you and your tiny drone. So
that's me and my tiny drone. The Swift Ditch is fascinating, isn't it? I think it was 1052 AD or something ridiculous.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
To cut out a meander in the river.
Yeah, because it got busy. I think it was because it got busy. They kept on complaining about the traffic in Abingdon. Yeah. And obviously by traffic we mean boat traffic. And that. So,
and there's quite a drop in the height of the river during that meander, because you've got the big weir at Abingdon and the lock. So and the Swift Ditch takes a shorter route, and so it's got to be quite a height difference. In fact, I think I haven't actually been there, but I think there's kind of a drop. There's kind of a weir thing.
There's the weir on both the entrances, because there's two entrances at the top in there for about 100 yards. Then there's the lock, and that lock was built in whatever year, I can't remember. But I mean that's in my head, unless there's something Roman, that's one of the oldest locks in the world, and it was a proper pound lock.
Oh, you're right in your element now, aren't
you?
This is a video. This is a video.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's a video without doubt. I can't think of it being a big video, but it would be a nice little vlog, and a wander out in a big circular sort of 5-mile circle, maybe from Cullen up and around.
So, having spoken to a few people about this, with Swift Ditch, so Swift Ditch is like a straight sort of stream. It is trespassing if you're on the land, but not if you're on the water.
Yeah, wow, okay. So what you're saying is we need a big inflatable dinghy, Headley, we stick our backsides in.
I think that's right. Although I do have a slight phobia of something stupid.
Well, phobias aren't stupid if they are phobias, Eddie. That's the thing, isn't it?
I'm genuinely scared of fish.
Fish, okay.
Yes.
I mean, as long as we don't go in the water, in that case, we should be all right.
So long as we're not in the water.
Literally in the water.
There might be a big pike or something that goes under the... Anyway. It's just something I need to build up to. That's all I'm saying. That's all it...
Well, yeah, who's got a dinghy? Is that the right word, a dinghy? Who's got an inflatable something? It doesn't have to be inflatable, does it?
Yeah.
Who's not got a canoe, because I'm not going in a canoe. Who's got a wider boat that we can go? And would we get down the Swift Ditch in a dinghy, or would we just puncture it on one of the many...
I don't know. I'll go for a little walk there. I will... So a friend of mine, Daniel, did a drone video, as you sent to you, so you get a rough idea. But I think I'm going to have to actually physically go there in the next couple of weeks and scope the place out and have a proper look at it and watch out for people with shotguns.
So I'll go for about my video for a little bit.
No, that's good.
Which is fine. I don't know what do you want to have a waffle now, Hadley?
Yeah, I was going to go over a little bit what I've done this week and then launch into something sort of a bit more involving. So today,
am I right in saying that you've ruined my fun this week?
Yes.
Did you say there's no this is now where people are going to switch on. If people realise, Headley, there is no treasure hunt today. We've lost our viewers. 90% of our viewers are gone.
Okay, look. How do I put this? The treasure hunt feature. Okay.
At least the viewers I'm talking about.
In your head, it genuinely works, but outside of your head,
I'm having fun, Headley. I'm having fun with this.
Yeah, well, I've killed the fun by telling you what I'm talking about.
Week off. A week off.
All right, okay. For your sanity, we will resume the treasure hunt feature, which does work.
Episode 12.
in episode
Now,
12.
if we now get like 1 million views on this video, we know that we just never ever do the treasure hunt ever again.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So we'll do it in episode 12, Revenge of the...
Revenge of the Treasure Hunt. I need to play some Annika Rice music, don't I?
Yeah. So today, I tell you what, I've only really done 2 things since the last episode. So today I did my first walk in a while. I did 12 miles along the Ridgeway. It was quite warm the later part of the day, quite cold at the start of it. Interestingly, highlight of the day for me, apart from taking some aerial shots of Sexbury, which is always a treat, was I was walking back through the woods at Scutcherman Knob. Great place. And there's this dog just ran up to me whimpering. And it's like, this dog is like pawing at me and everything. And I was like, hello, mate, looking around, there's no owner, and it was a bit of a lassie moment. The dog was kind of leading me on,
Yeah.
It was like it was sitting there whimpering, and if I walked away from it, it sort of whined and everything. So I walked towards the dog, and it led me to this car in the car park at Scutcherman, and there's absolutely no one around at all. No one around, and there's this dog in the middle of nowhere. And so I was like, all right, mate, I'll have a look, and I thought I'd better check there's no one dead in the car or something, Dog's pawing at the window.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's no one dead in the car, sort of thing. And
Okay, good news.
And the dog was just, so took the dog to some shade and put a bit of water on the grass for it to lick because it was a bit warm. And I didn't know what to do. So what do you do, So I stayed there for a while. And I saw this lady eventually in the distance down the Ridgeway. And she was clearly looking for something, hopefully a dog.
Yeah.
And I took the dog to her. I said, excuse me, is this your dog? And the dog ran up to her and licked her and everything. And she just sort of walked off. I'm like, don't mention it. Thanks, don't mention it, And I was like, oh,
how bizarre.
Seriously. So I carried on walking, but I was clearly catching her up because I was, we're going the same way and I'm probably obviously walking faster than her. And just caught her up again. And I just said to her, I said, your dog was whimpering in the woods and, and she sort of looked at me and raised an eyebrow. I'm like, okay, all right, fair enough. So I walked on. And then about 20 minutes later, this dog ran up to me again and she's nowhere to be seen. Oh,
how bizarre.
What do I do now? What do I do now? Anyway, that's my day.
Maybe she's trying to lose a dog or something. It's sinister.
Yeah. I don't know. But other than that, this week, this week, a couple of drone jobs. So people wanting one manor house, one farm, wanted aerial photography. 160 quid a throw if anyone's interested. Just put that in there. And I...
Well, you've never mentioned that, Ellie. You've never mentioned that you are available and, for paid work.
Well, this is it.
Of the drone nature.
You stack these drone jobs up and, do the full thing with a risk assessment and give them nice pictures and videos at the end of it. It's nice. And if it's a fairly well-oiled process and everything. But my front end, really, this week has been the Earth Trust. So I took part in Oxfordshire Art Weeks. And we had, over the week, it might end up being more or less, but I think it was around 800 visitors. And so each day I was waffling, losing my voice, talking about pictures, selling pictures. I've got a few distributions now to do and everything. It went really, really well. I enjoyed it. And we had a nice coffee van as well. I got it free because I'm doing a drone job for them as well. And it was nice because it was at Whitnam Clumps. So, managed to do a little walk here and there and get some nice pictures. I cycled in one day from just from Didcot across the fields there, and the clumps look absolutely gorgeous. The real minty greens and the bright yellow as well of the fields and everything, and the dark blue sky, and it had a very Wiltshire look about it.
So which direction are Whitnam Clumps from Didcot?
They are to the east, just north of east. So for the purpose of yes, that's it.
Yeah, I got them. Yeah, I got them. I got them. I got them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the purpose
Cool.
of Spotify listeners, Paul is probably pulling up a map,
Yes,
but
I am. Sorry.
you can't see it. I can't see it. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So it's really nice. And Earth Trust, as I did Whitlam Clumps on a previous episode, but they look after Whitlam Clumps, Neptune Woods, and a few other places. Radley Lakes, and their actual headquarters is built around a series of old farm buildings which have been renovated. And so we were exhibiting in this lovely old barn. I was with I think it's 5 other artists, and yeah, it was just a really, really nice vibe about it.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. And that's about it really. The other stuff I'm doing is Wessex Airscapes preparation. So we got Hannah and I have got our big Wessex Airscapes show coming up in July, and that's a lot of stuff. I mean, I'll be honest with you, she at the moment she's doing the bulk of it, but we're also.
So Anna's doing the painting.
She's doing, yeah.
You're
So
doing the pictures.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
I take the pictures with the drone. She paints them, and we exhibit both together. She's also doing a lot of abstract artwork as well this time round. And we've got a book coming out, just about to go to print. So with her dad Patrick, who sort of does the sort of the narrative and the history bit of it. And
Okay, cool.
so yeah.
So you've got a joint exhibition coming up to obviously try and push some of these. So where is that? What's the?
It's at the Devizes. It's in Devizes at the Wiltshire Museum from the 8th of July. And yeah, it's good. Kids go free, adults.
And how long is that for? Is that 8th of July for?
It's going to be 3.5 months, so through to mid-October.
So basically, you just have your stuff displayed there.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Okay,
That's
right.
So,
I didn't know what the fee. I know you've talked about it a few times, but I didn't actually know. I thought it would be helpful for me and
our
listeners to understand exactly what it was. So from the 8th of July,
but it's one of those things where we're thrown everything at it. You know, we've spent 2 years preparing this. We're absolutely thrown the kitchen sink at this. We're doing everything we can. So I'm not worried about what sells or what doesn't sell. I just want to make it as good as possible. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be good.
Smashing.
I was going to cover a subject this week. Do you want me to do that now, or have you got something before?
No, I mean, I was only going to waffle a little bit about some Roman maps that I've got stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't got a long subject. I could also talk about Fairford and Whitney Railway, which you'll know a little bit about because I think it ended up near your neck of the woods. But no, now's a great time, Hedley, to crack on with your little subject.
Okay.
That has no treasure hunt.
It doesn't have a treasure hunt, so no. I was going to talk a little bit about drone photography, the Ridgeway, and stuff like that. So I wanted to outline sort of different drone uses in relation to preserving and unearthing kind of the heritage of the Ridgeway. So sort of the artistic implementation, so how the art world is being influenced by aerial perspectives, uncovering earthworks that are invisible from the ground, how I see the Ridgeway, and just a little bit about drones themselves and aerial landscape photography. So artists, amateur photographers with their sort of camera phones and professional photographers with their SLR cameras are now joined by us aerial photographers in what I call the red kites view style of media, which has proven to be sort of an exciting and important method of showing the Ridgeway in some context. Aerial pictures and videos can represent sort of an accurate depiction of the Ridgeway in relation to the surrounding hills, fields, woodlands, historic sites that it passes, but it's also sort of provided a new appreciation of the delicately narrow environment that the Ridgeway itself occupies, and so much of its length, walkers, cyclists, horse riders are kind of unaware of the preserved natural grasses, bushes and trees, and the verges only span a few meters from the track itself. And from above it kind of looks like a slim ribbon of nature crossing very large open fields and crops and woodland. And also, as the Ridgeway passes many Iron Age hill forts along its length, these take on a startling new dimension from the air. So not only can you now appreciate their actual shape and location, but the high quality cameras that now come on drones expose every little element and detail of these hill forts and preserve like the dynamic contrast and colours that they offer from above. So in certain places and at certain times during low sun, there's new earthworks have become visible, and this has sort of sparked an interest among many sort of historians, leading to some targeted site investigations. Obviously, the picture quality is severely throttled back on social media when you post something, but the photos and videos in their raw form now provide breathtaking depth of detail, much of which just isn't visible from the ground. And obviously, up until the last few years, aerial photography was sort of limited to traditional aircraft and traditional cameras, and some of them made the very best of this they could. So there was Major George Allen, whose famous pictures of Uffington, White Horse, and the other sites they were revolutionary at the time. But in fact, his photography still proves useful today when we're studying the changes that have occurred over the last 90 years, like including the size and the shape of the Uffington horse itself. But it's only in recent years that the high quality, fully stabilised cameras can now be easily deployed at a low altitude to capture the kind of media that we're all used to. And I think, it's become quite normalised now, the drone view.
It's about time, really, isn't it? It's about time that people sort of didn't use the drone word as something that's an annoyance or
exactly
scary or going to disturb the peace, because it's not. It's something that helps create art, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, well, actually, as you say that, so my own flying remit is, I've been assisting historians with site surveys like the Newton Valence project I was on about earlier, and the Roman site on Lowbury Hill. But most of my time is, as you say, dedicated to sort of aesthetic site photography and photo shoots for Anna Dillon as well. So and it's in this area where I think drone photography really comes into its own. So
you might be like creating, at the end of the day, we look back on different artists who had different styles, don't we, right? Whatever kind of artist that is, you could be yourself creating a little legacy, one of the early drone photographers, Hedley Fawn. Why not, absolutely. It's an art form.
Well, I mean, everyone's talks about who they're inspired by. I mean, like artists do. It's like they say, but I think they're kind of less obvious influences from the actual landscape itself. So that creates a familiarity across their work. So many artists and photographers of the Ridgeway tend to share a lot of similarities in their style. And this becomes more obvious from above. The dark shades of green on the scarp and the lighting on the beach clumps and contrasting chalk white versus the green background on the sort of the white horses of Uffington and Hackpen, and the triangle figures like at Watlington and Whiteleaf. I think also the other thing is newcomers to drones, that they fly their drone up really, really high, meaning that all the pictures look like they've been captured from an aircraft window after leaving Gatwick. But I think photography from that height just flattens everything out and obliterates the precious little elevation that we actually got along the Ridgeway. And I think that's elevation that should be used instead to sort of portray the dimensions and depth of the landscape instead. But I think also the unique aspect of provided by a drone would be completely wasted by flying, at head height, because you're not differentiating then from regular photography. Not to mention, illegally endangering passers-by. So I think there's a happy medium. I think, I find pictures taken high enough to intrigue the eye by its unusual viewpoint and views over the hedges of the Ridgeway, but low enough to portray the detail and familiarity of the folding landscape tend to be the ones that people are most drawn to. And that's what sort of drew me to what I do with Anna. People seem to be, I think also pictures need to be sort of complemented by a story. I found this at Oxfordshire Art Weeks, not just sort of historical or national events that occurred in the area, but personal events on the day the picture was taken, like this is the day we were chased by a dog, or this is the day my shoe broke, or this is the day we accidentally lost the Ridgeway and had to use the drone to frame our way back. That happened. But I think there's also one other aspect of drone photography that's utterly unique, and that's the top down view where you turn the camera right down. So
Yeah.
instead of looking at the 2/3 view, and this. So when you do that, burial mounds become like perfect circles, and
Yeah.
long barrows marked out by shadow. And long barrows become oblong objects that are carefully placed in their environment.
Yeah.
And hill forts become these intriguing oblong shapes that looks like a child designed them with elastic bands. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, and in my line of work, I tend to, the shot down, I tend to, like an abandoned viaduct looking down, that kind of shot, or it allows me to go under an abandoned viaduct, or one of the best shots I did was a viaduct, which I won't remember the name of, in Scotland. It goes up a big valley, not Glenfinnan, Glenogle Viaduct.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
And we took a drone off from the viaduct because it's just a cycle path, and sort of zoomed out. We zoomed in and pulled the drone out at the same time, so you got the whole dolly effect. The Jaws dolly effect on it.
Yeah.
And I love that sort of thing, and it gives you that that sort of from our infrastructure, more over landscape.
And you get sort of drone shots as B-roll photography, and you get people like me hosting these exhibitions. I think it's fair to say that in more than any other arena, drone media is sort of now propagated social media. So, pictures and video clips of the Ridgeway are sort of readily appreciated by sort of couch-based consumers. And I think because of that, the average drone photographers found it more difficult to catch people's attention. People scroll Instagram really, really quickly, and I think initially the aerial perspective was enough to warrant an extended glance and perhaps even a comment. But I think the extensive use of drones has kind of, as I said, normalised the aerial perspective. So we're looking for new ways to differentiate the work from the other hordes of wannabe David Bailey airborne cameras.
It's difficult, isn't it? Referring it to what we do, we like it when we bizarrely we get comments from people saying to us, "Why don't you buy a drone for your videos?"
Yeah,
and literally the last 5 videos have had drone footage in.
Yeah,
but in our kind of view is, well, that's not a bad thing, because we want it to be so subtle that they don't realise there's a drone footage in there. There's like 2 seconds. And then later on in the video, 2 seconds, just a tiny little compliment. And so when someone says, "Why don't you go and buy a drone to help your videos?" you're like, "Okay, I've kind of achieved the goal I wanted to. Enough subtlety to."
It's good, and I think also with the last 2 years, we've had the advent of the zoom lens on a drone, which has been very difficult to achieve because you can't have a mechanical moving part. There just isn't it can't carry the weight and hasn't got the aerodynamics for it, and it's too expensive. So you have these fixed. Mine's got one of my lenses is 162mm fixed, so it's a 7x zoom. But what that means is, you can get Silbury Hill, West Cannock Long Barrow, Windmill Hill, all in one shot, all of equal size, just by putting the drone quarter of a mile behind West Cannock Long Barrow, and no one's ever seen that view before. Even drone pilots haven't seen that view. That's what's getting the double take from the scrollers now.
And people saying you photoshopped that.
And you're like, no, I didn't Photoshop it.
You've picked up Silbury Hill and you've moved it closer to East Cannock Long Barrow or West.
But I think it's also there is a lot of very good drone photographers out there, and so I help run the Ridgeway group, and I see the comments that people make to join the group, and we're about 115,000 strong now, and it's
that's a great group.
It's a great group, and people join it because they saw a drone shot of Silbury Hill or a drone shot of the Ridgeway. So it's definitely kind of although it's no longer a unique aspect, it's producing very good photography with the creative cameras. Obviously drones are important in archaeology, and they can record huge amounts of high quality imaging as well, and information mapping. And they're obviously cost efficient to what we used to have, instead of helicopters and cherry pickers and such like. And of course, I've seen photos now that can be resolved into like 3D elevation models using the right software and everything. So, I mentioned earlier about the Newton Valence project. So before working around the Ridgeway, I sort of did some aerial archaeology photography with, it was Clifford Jones, that was it, and using the aircraft to locate sort of earthworks in open land around Newton Valence and Hampshire. And I flew the drone from 3 different locations, capturing I think it's 4K and 5K high resolution video, and and it's really good weather. But in the viewfinder, I inadvertently located a sort of potential square earthwork actually in the garden of the gentleman who's hosting the event, and it sort of prompted them to all start putting sticks in the ground. That's strange, people, historians. So the other thing was Lowbury Hill. I mean, much closer to the Ridgeway is the Lowbury Hill site. So it's kind of like, as I said before, it's my local high point, my weekly walk. It's only 186 metres above sea level, but it's the highest land in South Oxfordshire, and it's 360-degree views. Around, I've got to get this right. So 360 views around the counties of Oxfordshire, Berkshire, Wiltshire, Hampshire, Buckinghamshire, and from the drone Gloucestershire as well, and Surrey. But it was so it's kind of an ideal spot for a Romano-Celtic building, and from the ground, I mean, if the grass has been grazed, you can just about make the vague outline of a square, sort of possibly enclosure, maybe even a temple on top of the hill if you're looking for it. But it was also thought to be kind of a rural central point for markets and paying taxes and ritual activity. So, but I've been doing some work for Summer Courts, who's doing PhD on Lowbury Hill. I'm kind of unofficially her photographer, which is quite nice. But I went there in the hot summer with Anna, and we when the grass was scorched, so you could see every single imperfection, and we waited till the sun was quite low. Excuse me, and we saw the enclosure and the barrows that are there, but we picked out a couple of ring ditches as well that no one had known about, and I actually went back in to sort of confirm that in December when we had the frost and the low sun, and sure enough they were there. So I sent those off to Summer at Reading University, and I think they're applying for funding to get some sort of geophys and everything over it. So and I think it's great, you can pick up these sort of things. I found some earthworks over on Baldon Hill, just to the north of the Ridgeway, and I think we also managed to reveal a good length of unmapped sections of Grimm's Ditch going right through the area there. So we're currently doing a project to maybe do an exhibition where we're looking for some sort of sponsorship on that, because it's one of those things where it's going to be difficult to actually sell the pictures, I think, because who do you know is going to buy a picture of Grimm's Ditch off the top of your head? There are people, but it's not the same as Stonehenge or so and it made me think about how I saw the Ridgeway. I don't want to get over philosophical, but I thought so aerial photography is sometimes kind of an excuse for me to be on the Ridgeway, to get away from the long hours of my real job. And the track's existence is kind of enhanced by the awareness and enjoyment of those that visit. It kind of thrives on the experiences of its visitors, and even the passing of the season. It's kind of a long triple SI, isn't it? A nature reserve bordered by modern transport, agriculture, and humanity. And I absolutely love it.
Interestingly, one of the questions that we had earlier today was, what is your favourite part of the Ridgeway?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't answer that because I haven't specifically walked along I have walked along sections of Ridgeway, but almost not knowingly, if that makes sense. I've not gone, today I want to walk on part of it. I've just ended up there for whatever reason, went, I'm on the Ridgeway.
Favourite.
So I'm going to let you answer that, Edley, really. I think you should answer
Okay, well, I'll take a swig of drink then.
I mean, I guess the better question would then be, would be if transport wasn't an issue and you could teleport yourself instantaneously to any part and go for a 5-mile walk. So you could go snap your fingers and you're at any place you want to be, where would you go? Instantaneous, I
see what you mean, yeah. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking is, where would you recommend someone to go for the first time? Is another way of looking at it, but I think that would yield a different answer. So, and the other one is, if someone mentions the Ridgeway to you, what's the first bit of it that you think of? You know,
Yeah.
I was I was up on the Ridgeway today, and it's difficult to know. I mean, I think the most spectacular parts of the Ridgeway to me are probably Uffington area. So everywhere from Sparsholt Firs, just near Wantage,
Yeah.
all the way to Wayland Smithy. That is just, you know,
Okay.
absolutely packed with history and its views. You go over Uffington Whitehorse Hill, which is very high, and have a look at the horse. I think also you can't ignore the Avebury end. I think that
Yeah.
around there it's gorgeous. Liddington Castle, and actually Smeath Ridge, going from Barbary Castle to Liddington as well. The highest part of the Ridgeway, I think, Liddington.
Yeah.
But then going further east, you've got, now Lowbury Hill is my favourite area there, but I think the Ridgeway there is okay. It's not. It's you don't have the big views you have elsewhere. But then it drops down Streatley Warren, and that is spectacular. That is really, really gorgeous.
Okay,
So Streatley Warren, definitely, that's way up there.
Yeah.
But then I've only dealt with half the Ridgeway because that's the western half. So going further north and east up into the Chilterns, a bit past Watlington's nice, especially if you go up the Watlington Hill. And I it's a bit of a grey area for me, just to the north of there, all the way up Princess Risborough, simply because there's so many no-fly zones up there that I haven't gone there to take, footage. I can't launch the drone. But definitely at the far end, Ivinghoe Beacon, really, really nice. That's nice. If you go to Ivinghoe Beacon either early morning or especially late evening, the views are fantastic. Really, really nice. Absolutely beautiful along there. But if I had to choose a place on the Ridgeway it's the only place on the Ridgeway I could go. Yeah, for me it's Sparsholt Firs to Uffington and Wayland Smithy.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
I think I've got to. Yeah, it's not the most regular place I go. That my walk today was the most regular place. That's kind of West Ilsley up to Court Hill Cafe near Wantage and Segsbury Camp, which is nice.
Court Hill Cafe. So where's Court Hill Cafe? And
Just to the south of Wantage.
Okay. What on the A338 or?
Yeah. So if you follow the A338 up the hill, so out of the town up the hill, you'll see Court Hill Cafe just to the west of the road. It's the only place. So it's the only place in the entire western half of the Ridgeway where there's somewhere to stop, eat and drink.
Fair enough.
There are other diversions you can make. There is an Indian restaurant, but obviously if you're hiking and you just want lunch, I don't know. And then you don't really have. You can get. There are places at Ashbury if you're willing to go a couple of miles out your way, but apart from Court Hill, which is only half a mile off the Ridgeway, you don't have anywhere. In fact, there's no buildings, almost no buildings, the whole length of it until you get to Goring and Streatley.
Yeah.
So Court Hill Cafe is usually fairly busy. You get walkers, cyclists, and it's got a lovely little woodland there as well. I'm sort of talking about Court Hill now, but it is lovely. You've got some woods there, and I think they're mainly beech trees, so you can see through down into the valley. And the view, actually, let's take this further. If someone's looking for somewhere to go in South Oxfordshire and they want a cup of tea or lunch, Court Hill Cafe, and I'm not being paid to say this, is fantastic because behind the cafe there are woods, and if you go in the woods there's a little seat that overlooks the Thames Valley, and the view from that is just amazing, especially in the summer. Really, really nice. I could sit there for an hour. It's just wonderful. So yeah.
Marvellous. All right. Well, I have done a great job of keeping up with that on the map as well, Headley, whilst you've been talking about that. I will pat myself on the back.
Well done. To be fair, though, the Ridgeway is just a line, so it's not...
It's not difficult, is it?
Just kidding. But yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool, Headley. I think we've done a nice... Well, I say we. You've done a nice comprehensive chat there on the Ridgeway. That was epicness.
Thank you very much.
So I don't know, there may be 10 minutes left of waffle.
Yeah.
I'm not. I won't. I don't need to waffle about what I'm delving my head into. But if I hold this book up, you'll know what our next
hang on.
big project
Oh, right.
is about. Big project. And if I said this is the most recent entry into the video that we're making, the earliest being Marinus of Tyre and Ptolemy and I don't know, Pompeius melee of
For the purpose of non-YouTube people, he held up a book that said Roman roads of Britain.
yeah, but Ivan Magari,
Okay.
however people pronounce his name, forgive me. But yeah, so next big episode. I'm going to plug this now, Eddie, because I'm so excited.
Go for it.
We've got a short form coming out a week Sunday. I don't know when this one's going out, but Sunday the something, week and a half from now, called as an every disused station on the Fairford and Whitney line, which nearly ended up in Abingdon or a bit north of Abingdon. I can't remember where it ended up. I can't remember the name of it. Yarnton.
Yeah,
north of Oxford.
Yeah.
But the week after that, we have a video called "How We Mapped Roman Britain," and I can't tell you how excited I am. I've been doing so much research on Greek mathematicians and geographers, to middle-aged people who replicated their work, to the greatest map I've ever seen, which I'm having printed by a printer, and it's 22 foot long.
22 foot.
Yep, 22 foot long by 13 inches high. And it is.
Where are you going to display that?
I don't know that, but how cool is that? That was a map, yeah. That was a map from 1200 AD. That was a copy of a Roman map. Now the original map is gone. What only survived was this 1200 AD map called Peutinger's map. Yeah, Google it when you get a moment later on. Peutinger's map genuinely was 22 feet long. It's like a rolled out manuscript, and it was the entire Roman road empire, and it's the earliest surviving road network Roman map, and it is a piece of art, and I think that was the whole point. Here's the single most frustrating thing you'll ever know in your life. The bit with Britain on didn't survive. There's a tear in the map, right?
Oh no.
Genuinely, there is a tear in the map. So Britain, you can see the bottom of Britain because the map's 22 foot long. It's clearly not to scale. Britain's on its side.
Yeah.
And you can see about 4 towns on the south coast, from Exeter to Bitton near Southampton to Dover, and a couple of others in Kent. But literally, it's kind of torn Britain. So Britain is gone, and it's the most single frustrating thing. But the map is just this piece of art. But from that to antiquarians like Richard Hoare, Stukely or whatever his name was, all sorts of weird and wonderful people, and the great Roman hoax. Somebody, again, I'm not going to go into it now, but somebody hoaxed Stukely into, they found this Roman manuscript. They found all these maps, but it was a lie. Why? But he's fooled all these antiquarians, and a lot of what is around today, the Pennines. The Pennines were named based on the fact that this guy had found these maps that were Roman, but he was making it up. And they named all these places. They named the Pennines. Basically, the Pennines are called the Pennines because of a hoax. So they shouldn't really be called the Pennines.
Wow.
Anyway, whole load of random stories, which are beautiful, and I'm going to try and put it into a lovely long form piece of art. So that's coming in a week and a half or so. So I'm quite excited.
I'm excited about that. You've got to be proud of your videos.
It's when they come together well like that. When I feel like it's going well, then I kind of I'm pleased with them. But
Actually, one of the comments on last week's episode mentioned your videos. Do you want me to do those now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Davey941 says, I don't know what David, because I can't scroll. Here we go. Hi again, Paul and Headley. Interesting videos always. And this is where it says, Paul, you are killing it with your videos now. Really enjoy them.
That's very kind.
Clay Hill looks so nice. Well done. Thank you again, guys. Which I thought was really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Davey941. Krish5319. Thank you, Paul and Headley, for answering my question. I found the discussion fascinating, especially the insight that so much is relatively accessible. Okay, that's good. Let's have a look. He I think it's a he, also said, I sent the link to my wife to remind her that we need to visit Clay Hill, driven past it many times. Thank you for that also.
Brilliant.
So it's actually making a difference. We made a video about Clay Hill, and we've probably just actually, made someone go there.
Yeah,
brilliant. I love that.
Exploring it. Love that. Love that.
I seem to remember at the end of our last video we said we're probably the only people still listening to this. David Bellani 3308 disagrees. He says it's not just you two. There's some hardcore waffle absorbers tuned in as well, even right to the end. All right,
that's good
David,
to know.
There we go. I like that.
So it's me, you and David right now, yeah?
It's me, it's us two and David. I'm happy with that. It's three of us in this particular pub. He does say his ears pricked up at the mention of Portway and Andover, but nothing to do with old roots. He said, I worked for a while in the industrial estate there some time ago now. Wow, brilliant.
Well, that is where I work in my other job. West Portway Industrial Estate. And I occupy a building right next to the Harrow Way. There we go.
Oh wow. Ian D. Dalton, great podcast, new subscriber. Yes. He says he's a Warminster local. He can see his house from here. Never seen a UFO though in 50 years. He's put, it's not Frome as in Rome, it's Frome as in room. Very quick pronunciation.
Frome.
Frome.
You should watch that. There's a J.
That's probably me, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a J. I didn't correct you on it, Headley. I thought I better not.
Yeah.
There's a J. Foreman video about pronunciations in England, and he talks about Frome. Frome being the weirdest. Doesn't look like what it should look like. Yeah.
No, I saw that. He's brilliant. Ian also says about Battlesbury and Scratchbury nearby, which is true, and he's also mentioned the very reason we didn't go there, because it's on the edge of the SPTA, the Salisbury plane training area. So, and obviously they're currently training up the Ukraine troops and everything. So, yeah, drone activity is not really good there. Simon Trains, Clay Hill looks lovely. Great podcast. Thank you for the kind words and shout out to the comment last podcast. Cheers, Simon. I can see this happening again because people thank us for shouting out to them, and then we're going to shout out them again. So
it's a never-ending loop of thank yous. But that's fine. We can deal with that. I think we can deal with that.
SUAS News. Hello from South Africa.
Cool.
Wow. Okay, and then Russell Gordon 5981 says hello from Canada, which really worldwide. And one comment. So this is from @user-09FN3WV9W.
Did you just read out one of your passwords, Headley?
No, but I think that must be theirs. Basically, just says yawn. Oh. So I replied. Are you okay? And let's have a look at his channel. Hang on.
Has he got a channel?
Well, yeah, you have to on YouTube. So, number of subscribers, 1. Number of videos, none. No profile picture. Yeah, you see.
Dear. So he's got. Hang on. He's got no content of his own.
He's either a bot of some kind, or I mean, to be fair, if you're going to say yawn, that implies two things. It implies that you've listened to it all the way through and then come up with a judgment, or it's not your subject, so go away.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's interaction for the YouTube, so we'll take that for the win.
Exactly, we'll take the interaction. I mean, if he or they or she doesn't want to watch a video about Wessex area landscape and industrial stuff, then fine. I'm not going to watch a video about, I'm not going to watch about the Eurovision Song Contest.
This is true. It's like that. It would be like that, wouldn't it? It would be like you clicking on Eurovision Song Contest video, then commenting that you didn't like it. I didn't like this. I know I wouldn't have liked it but I clicked on it anyway just to prove that I didn't like it. So
let's get some interaction. All of those who have made it this far and have made a reasoned judgment, if you've made it this far, I think your judgment really counts, and you haven't liked it, write down below now. just write down the bottom of this video, yawn, terrible, etc., etc.
I've listened to 1 minute, 1 hour, and yeah.
But if you're just doing that because I asked you to, just put a smiley face at the end of it, just so we know you're joking.
So we don't insult you in the next episode.
Yeah, and click on your profile and tell everyone how awful it is.
You've
Why did
got
I do
no
that?
subscribers.
Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna. Anyway,
Cool.
that's everything I've got. I think.
I think that's mostly. I could waffle on for hours about Roman maps. Maybe I will do next time because our video will have been out by then.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I'm really quite excited. And
yeah.
But in the meantime, we've got an Every Dish Station coming out before then.
Yeah.
So go and watch that as well, everybody. And then also put in your diaries. Get your phone out now, everybody. Put in your diary, 8th of July, to go and visit, or maybe soon after the 8th of July, the Wiltshire Museum in Devizes.
Yes.
Because that'd be cool.
Wiltshire Museum in Devizes.
We'll go along ourselves, Headley. Tell us when you're going to be there, and we'll try and pop along.
I'll put it on Twitter when I'm going to be there. But yeah, you know, if you're really good to me, I might even invite you to the private viewing.
Oh my goodness me, that sounds a bit saucy, Headley.
Oh, it's just like any other viewing, just the lights are a bit lower. That's all.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
Oh, we better shut up, haven't we?
We better shut up. Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and thanks Headley. Thanks everybody for listening. As always, we appreciate your viewership or listenership. And we'll probably see you or hear you, or you'll hear us next time.
And those of you on YouTube, please comment below, and you know, if you want to like, then like, but that's over to you. Thank you very much.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye bye.